Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us today for another live webinar. We are honored to have with us today Ms. Charmaine Quinlan Donovan, CEO of the Citizenship by Investment Program, Antigua and Barbuda. Ms. Charmaine holds the distinction of being the first national of Antigua and Barbuda and the first woman to head the country's Citizenship by Investment unit. Her appointment as the CEO took effect on 27th of March 2017. Prior to this appointment, Ms. Charmaine served in the CIU in three prominent capacities: Chief Compliance Officer, Chief Operating Officer, and Acting Chief Executive Officer. She's also a Chartered Director and a fully qualified anti-money laundering specialist. Also, we have with us today Mr. Imran Farooq, the man who needs no introduction, but for the benefit of our viewers, he is the Group CEO of the Samana Group of Companies, and AAA Associates is a part of Samana Group. Mr. Farooq is a well-renowned immigration consultant and a business tycoon in the UAE. And AAA Associates Immigration Services is the largest immigration service provider in the Middle East, North Africa, Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. He's a registered member of the Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council. We all know that by our ICCRC. And he has successfully established AAA Associates Immigration Services in promoting and representing investors for application in citizenship by investment programs and residency programs in Europe, Caribbean, Australia, Canada, and US. Ladies and gentlemen, today's session is dedicated solely to question and answers for the Citizenship by Investment Program of Antigua and Barbuda. I'd like to tell you that we will be taking questions in English, Arabic, Hindi, and Urdu as well. You can post your questions throughout the webinar, and we'll certainly try to answer all of them. Well, without taking much time, I think it's time for us to take our first question. Ms. Charmaine, COVID or no COVID, the unit is working with full capacity. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. We have found a way to make it work for us. Given the COVID protocols existing in our country, we are restricted with the number of persons who can be in the office at one particular time. So we have persons working in the office and working from home as well, but there is full coverage. Actually, from even we are giving more time than before COVID started. So we start generally at 7:30 and end closer to 6 p.m. in the evening. So we are actually giving more now that we're dealing with COVID.
And we've been seeing this as somebody who processes the applications, perhaps because everything went online, the turnaround time for applications has perhaps improved.
Yes, it has significantly improved, and we are working on our internal processes to even make it much more efficient. So in the coming weeks, months, you can expect that even more efficiency, even greater efficiency from our unit.
That is
thanks,
lovely.
Charmaine, and thanks, Jehan. Yes, I hope that we continue with the same pace, because after COVID, we're seeing faster processing. The workflow has improved, so I hope that it doesn't end here. Yes,
No.
even in a normal world, it continues that way.
No, we like what we're seeing, and we want to continue to serve our customers in that manner. And so we've devised ways, like I said, to give more of our time, even though it's COVID.
Excellent.
Excellent. So we got our first question in, and it's lovely that the question starts with parents. Well, it says, can we add parents or grandparents to the application?
Yes, you can. Yes, you most certainly can.
And there's nothing specific that they have to do the process. It's just that they add the documents. Am I right?
Right. Once the parent has attained the age of 58 and we can see that they are being supported by the applicant, you can add your parents, your grandparents, and your in-laws to the application. As a matter of fact, we are currently working on the definition of dependence with a view to expanding it. So hopefully within the next month to 2 months, we should be able to put out something to the market to expand. I think this will be happy for everyone. Everyone will be happy that, for that move. But we're working on it right now. Not able to tell you exactly what it would look like because it's still in discussion stage. But what I can promise you is that you will like the end product.
Excellent. And that a lot of people want to ask that, yes, the parents can be added, but can they add a father-in-law and mother-in-law as well?
Yes. Yes, you can. You can add the father-in-law and mother-in-law.
Okay,
and
so we're looking forward for.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, this can be done all at the same time. One single application, you've got your parents and your parents-in-law in the application.
Yes, yes.
Perfect. So we will move to the next question. And this is perhaps a question that keeps on coming quite a lot. Can I renew my Antigua passport? And obviously, people can, but I think what the client means is how and when can it be renewed? What's the process?
Okay, there are various ways that you can renew your passport. If your passport, if you've run out of pages with your passport, you can just apply through your agent to the program and we can have that fixed for you. Currently, the country is under a passport recall. So passports that have been issued prior to March 2017 are on recall. I think the date has been extended to the end of this year. And so in the similar manner, you would apply through your agent to renew the passport. If you have a lost or stolen passport, there's also another process for that, which your agent can provide guidance. It will include, of course, you submitting a police report about how you lost the passport. And then you can also renew the passport when it expires in 5 years. Once you would have met the 5-day residency requirement and sworn your oath. Now, the 5-day residency requirement has been suspended until August 31st, 2021. So if you are in the number of persons who have reached the 5-year mark, but you have not had an opportunity to visit the country as yet, you are able to apply for your new passport, with your renewed passport, that is, and there's no requirement for you to visit the country, at least until the 2021. As it relates to the oath, persons who are not able to come to Antigua, we have partnered with our mission in London to facilitate the oath taking. And we're also working with our other embassies and representative offices worldwide to be able to facilitate the oath taking for persons in other jurisdictions who may not be able to get to the UK.
Perfect. Thank you.
Jehan, I feel that this question comes more from Middle Eastern customers, and they want to know if this is like a second-grade citizenship and things like that. Yeah. So Charmaine, people are curious to know that what kind of citizenship they are getting: A grade, B grade, or C grade.
Oh, wow. We don't have grades or classes of citizenship. Once you're a citizen, you are a citizen. You have full rights and benefits of as those born and raised in Antigua. The only difference would be if you want to vote, you would have to come and reside in Antigua for a month. As a matter of fact, this affects even native-born Antiguans as well. I remember when I was living outside of Antigua for some years, and they had the electoral reform, and there was the requirement for you to actually reside in Antigua 1 month prior to your registration on the voters list. I was affected. So because I was working overseas, I wasn't able to be on the voters list until I returned home to live. So, I mean, there's really no difference whatsoever. Once you are a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda, no matter the manner in which you acquired citizenship, once you acquired it legally, you have the same rights and privileges as all Antiguan and Barbudans.
So that means in Antigua and Barbuda born native person also needs to spend 1 month in a span of last 5 years or 10 years if they got to vote?
they would need to be able to reside here for 1 month. If their name is not already on the electoral roll,
Okay.
you'd need to reside here for 1 month prior to that in order to be able to be placed on the voters list.
Excellent. Thanks for clarifying. There's absolutely no difference between the native and the clients who are acquiring citizenship now.
That's right, because we native-born Antiguans have to renew our passports as well when they expire. The only difference is because the legislation requires you to perform certain actions within the first 5 years, that's the reason you are issued a passport for 5 years when you initially become a citizen. But thereafter, once you come through the program and we're able to verify that you've completed all of the requirements, you've satisfied all of the requirements, your passport is renewed for 10 years, and then there's no requirement for you to come through the program thereafter to renew your passport. You can go directly to the passport office just as a native-born Antiguan and Barbudan.
Perfect. So we've got a lot of questions, Charmaine, so you have to bear with us today. Yeah?
That's fine.
Thank you. Now, and I think this question that I'm going to ask also pops up a lot. And partly what you just said would also kind of cover this. So it says, what is the risk? Well, there are two questions I'd like to ask the other one first. Do I need to make any further investments like buying land or a flat or anything of that sort, to continue with the citizenship once somebody has acquired the citizenship?
Once you've acquired the citizenship, any further investments you make in Antigua and Barbuda will be purely at your choice. There are no further requirements. So if you would have become a citizen through the National Development Fund option, the donation option, there are no further investments required, unless, of course, when you come to visit this beautiful Twin Island state, you decide, hey, I want to live here. And then you purchase property or something of the sort. But you are not actually required to make any further investments. That's it. You become a citizen and that's it.
So client can buy agricultural land or any kind of project. There's absolutely no limitation.
There's no limitation. Once you're a citizen, as I said before, you are afforded all full rights and privileges of a citizen. And so you're able to, as a matter of fact, once you're a citizen, you're not bound by the restriction. So as it relates to the real estate option, there are only certain properties or units you can use to qualify for citizenship. But if you are already a citizen, you can purchase property anywhere.
And what kind of investment, if a client, a lot of our clients are large scale investor and they want to invest in a country which is welcoming them, giving them special tax breaks, waiver on import duties. So which are the sectors you encourage?
Oh, well, we have a multiplicity of sectors that we really need investments in, especially the area of technology, IT and technology, agriculture and agro-processing, marine life, manufacturing. There are any number of industries still left here for persons to invest in. Once persons come to Antigua and familiarize themselves with the country, I think they'd wonder why it is they didn't become a citizen before.
Excellent. What about crypto exchange and crypto related stuff? You take it favorably? Are you passing any new regulation to facilitate that?
The government is looking favorably at this particular option. Legislation has been passed. The Digital Assets Bill has been passed, which will enable the country to be able to deal in cryptocurrency. I know that currently they are working with a few industry leaders to assist us in building the actual framework for us to receive and transact in cryptocurrency. I don't actually have a timeline right now, but I know that this is something on the front burner. And that's one of the avenues we'll be looking at to arrest some of the banking challenges that we are experiencing now for funds to come in.
Perfect. And I think, Mr. Farooq, why don't you add to that, now that we've heard Ms. Charmaine, because you travel to Antigua quite often. And you being a businessman, what would you say would be a great sector for somebody from this part of the world to invest in? And this has come as a question as well, so we might have two answers.
Basically, it's a beautiful country, and I see big investment opportunity in tourism sector because the most expensive hoteling I have ever done is Antigua and Barbuda. So that's where it is, and it's a world-class resorts. But I believe that if I had to invest, I would invest into tourism sector because that's where I feel that the competition is not as tough. Though if you go to booking.com, you're going to find numerous amount of hotel operators and properties, but still most of the time you end up paying $1,500 to $2,000 a night. So that's a lot of money, and the government is trying to promote that sector also. Crypto is another thing which a lot of our young new generation is after. They love to talk about it, and they love and Antigua is one of the few destinations which is looking at it very favorably. So that's another sector. So anything to do with travel and tourism besides the hotel project. So anything to do with travel and tourism, that's what I could give an initial feedback here.
And if I could just add, Jehan, I know that the government is looking to diversify the economy. Historically, we've been basically totally dependent on tourism. It contributes over 70% to our gross domestic product annually. And hence the reason I was saying that there are some other opportunities than your conventional industry. So we're looking at agriculture and agro-processing. And so these are areas that you can actually champion because there's little to no competition in these sectors. But right. I mean, happy to visit, to encourage persons to visit Antigua and come and see what there is to offer, because we can say that these are the industries that we feel that that would need investment, but you can come in and see something unique, especially based on the particular industry or background you have. There may be something that piques your interest that we have not mentioned. So I really invite you to come. If your borders are open, we are receiving persons from all over the globe. If your borders are open, please feel free to come and visit our beautiful twin island in the sun.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of people would love to. And Mr. Majid, I hope that answers your question. You have an answer from two experts here. Great, so that answers the first part of the question. And the second part says, so what is the risk that the government will change their plan if I have already applied and received the passport? So I think what he's asking about is perhaps the passport being revoked once somebody is granted a citizenship.
No, what I really want the participants to this webinar to understand is that citizenship, once acquired, is very difficult to be revoked. So, and I also cannot see the government really changing their plans as it relates to this program. This program has really brought in revenue to bolster the economy in tough financial times. Everybody worldwide is experiencing these tough financial times, especially brought on by the pandemic. And, it is the revenue from the CIP that has been shoring up the government's finances and caused them to be able to make their regular payments on a monthly basis. So I cannot see in the very near future that any decision, even if the government changes, would be made to discontinue this program because it's so pivotal to our economy.
Right.
What I would like to add, Jehan, is that clients need to understand this is an industry. So citizenship by investment is an industry, and government has its own targets. So we don't expect the program to shut down or shrink number, because at the end of the day, if any country decides to half number of applicant it takes or shut down, there's a direct budget deficit. So they need to have an alternative program, number one. Number two, retroactive, I don't think so legally, even if anybody in the government wishes, can take a retroactive step. Do you agree, Charmaine?
That is correct. As I said, it's very difficult to revoke your citizenship once you've obtained it. The criteria for revocation is extremely limited and rigid. And so no government, no successive government can make any such decree that passports are revoked that had already been issued.
Perfect. Thank you. That's very, sorry.
No, I was just clarifying citizenship, not only passports, but citizenship.
Yes, that's very reassuring. So once again, I'd like to club 2 questions. That would save us some time, I would say, for further questions. Now, one question says, I want to clarify if all AAA investments is government project and supported by the government. I think what the gentleman wants to know is perhaps wherever the investments go, they are government approved projects. And then there's a question which says, is AAA an authorized government person to do the application? Well, I think I should hear from both Ms. Charmaine and Mr. Farooq.
Most definitely. What I could say to your participants is we have an active list of our authorized representatives and agents on our website, www.cip.gov.ag. Wherever you're having concerns that a company or a person is not authorized to act on behalf of this program, you can consult the website for verification. But I could tell you that AAA is definitely an authorized representative under this program. And well, AAA has been, I'm sure, explaining to you the number of options that we have available under this program. Additionally, if you are interested in real estate or business investment, we have those projects on our website as well.
And Mr. Farooq, we'd like to hear from you as well. Well, AAA is certainly there.
As I think she's perfectly clarified that we are a registered international marketing agent, and whatever program are being discussed, they are legitimate. And if there's a real estate option, we would only promote anything which is approved by the government as per the official website.
Agreed.
Perfect. And you know, if anybody needs any further information, you can always refer to our website. And you know, we've got everything, all the legislation, you know, our licenses and which countries we deal with, it's there. So you can perhaps do a follow-up there. Great. So there's another question, and I think we have a lot of questions about families today. So it says, do the kids, when they grow up and have their families, be eligible for citizenship? Will they have to invest all over again, or just the usual fee of new passports for their spouses or kids?
So this is what I'm saying. This is what I was saying earlier about the expansion of the definition for dependents. Currently, grandchildren are not eligible. They would have to. So if your child was a part of your application and then subsequently got married and had children, you wouldn't be able to be added to the previous application. It would require a new application. However, we are definitely working on expanding the definition of dependents. And so hopefully you'll be in a position to provide this notice to everyone.
She doesn't want to reveal what's behind the scene, actually.
Pardon me?
I think you don't want to reveal what is being discussed behind the scene till the bill is circulated, right?
Correct, because you know, until it's set in stone, it's subject to change, and so I wouldn't want to kind of get persons' hopes up. And
right.
Yes,
I understand.
But I do know, though, that once these discussions have been concluded and the requisite changes have been made, that persons are going to like the new options.
Excellent.
We're sure that would happen. Now, dear viewers, there's one thing, there are a lot of questions that are coming about the costs. Now, these costs are case specific, and we can't really do the calculations now and tell you how much it costs. What I recommend again is that you head to our website, or you can you know, just leave your email addresses with us here, and we'll get back to you with the costs and exact calculations. So those questions we may perhaps not be able to take right now. So we got another question. Again, it's a family-related question. So client is asking, my son is 24 years old from a first marriage. If my second husband applies for our passports, can we include my son? So it's a son from the first marriage.
Yes, once you have, yes, yes, definitely, it's your son. It's your son. So yes, the son can be included.
So stepchild of principal applicant can get through in the same application.
That's correct.
So I think
Yes.
you're allowed to have your biological children as well as adopted children to be a part of the application.
Correct. Biological, adoptive, and your stepchildren can be part of it.
Yes. Okay, great. We got another question which says, what's the first step which we do? Well, sir, you have to ring AAA Associates. Head to our website, www.aaa-international.com. We have, the team, you've got the contact details. You can pick your consultant, get in touch with us, and we'll help you with the first step. That is your first step, indeed. Now, there's another question. It says, as a citizen of Antigua, do we have rights? And this has actually been answered. And he specifically asked about education. What sort of rights do we have when it comes to children's education in Antigua?
The same rights as Antiguans and Barbudans. We have public schools that Antiguan and Barbudan children can attend for free. We also have private schools, and of course you would pay the requisite fee charged by the particular institution. We also have an international school, actually, a growing international school, which I think persons who obtain citizenship and who generally live abroad would really like that experience, because at the end of that program, the child is awarded the International Baccalaureate, which means that they can fit into most international universities thereafter. So you have all of the same rights and privileges to healthcare, to education, to practically all aspects of life here in Antigua and Barbuda.
It's basically as if you were born and brought up in Antigua.
That's right.
That's right. You get.
Yes, I'd just like to underscore that we do not have any classes of citizens. So if you're a citizen, you are a citizen. You're not an A grade, a B grade, or C grade. No classes of citizens.
Perfect. There's another question which we have. We just bring it up. Well, we're again getting questions asking about AAA being authorized. So those questions have already been answered. So the question, I think Mr. Farooq can answer this, and I think we get this question a lot as well. Can I make payments to AAA and then onwards to Antigua? And I think that's what it means. So can AAA take payments because with banking in Caribbean it's a little difficult.
Yeah, we encourage direct payment to the government, but in case if the clients cannot do the direct transfer, we do accept payment. We are approved marketing agent, and on client's behalf, we can transfer the payments. So there's absolutely no problems with that.
Perfect. Okay, now the next question, again, Ms. Charmaine, this is for you. Now, how will Brexit impact Antigua? Will UK still remain a visa-free country? I think this is a question that comes in, I don't know, every 2 weeks.
I can well imagine. Well, Brexit will not affect Antigua in that particular instance. We're not expecting any changes with our visa-free access to the UK or with the Schengen area. So we're not expecting that Brexit will negatively impact the mobility of our passport holders.
Jehan, there is a misconception in our clients' mind. They're too much over concerned about Brexit and the Antigua and Barbuda and other countries losing visa-free access. Brexit means UK out of Europe.
Right.
So nothing else gets affected. So it doesn't mean that they're going to revisit their relationship with 200 odd countries and things like that. So I feel that the visa waiver policies have a zero impact with the Brexit. And it is, if you're a British citizen, you should be concerned about the Brexit and the relationship with the other government. But if you are in any other country that has a visa-free waiver, it would have zero impact because this discussion is not under negotiation. The negotiation is between European Union and United Kingdom. So things will change between these two countries.
Perfect, and that's understood. Now, again, I think this has been answered, but the question is, and this is Mr. Farooq, this is for you. Do you also assist in the renewal of the Antigua passport?
Yes, we provide full-fledged service, and we assist in renewal of the Antigua and Barbuda passport.
Perfect. So we've got another question, and this is about the funds. Mr. Charmaine, and this is for you. If I want to apply for a passport but do not have funds, and can someone sponsor the application? So it's about a client, having somebody else sponsoring.
Yes, another person can be a benefactor to your application, and what we require is that the person complete the AB1 form so that we can get information on that person and conduct our due diligence. So yes, once you clearly declare who the person is and provide the requisite details for us to do our background checks, yes, anyone can be your benefactor.
Perfect. There's a question about how many countries can we visit visa-free. I think I'd like to quote Mr. Farooq here. You should ask how many countries can you not visit.
That's right.
Just for
That's right.
the benefit.
I think my favorite reply is except Canada, US. Why don't you tell me where you would like to visit? And the most likely 99.9% answer is yes, we can visit. So UK, the entire Europe, most of the Far East, and so on. So list is about 140 odd countries roughly. So the list is fairly long.
Yeah, I like that response.
Should be other way around.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Great. There's a question about tax. So it says, do we need to pay any government tax or fees if I have the passport and I'm living outside Antigua?
No, in this program, you're actually not taxed on your worldwide income. Only income generated in Antigua and Barbuda is taxed. Antigua and Barbuda has no personal income tax, but of course, there are commercial business taxes if you are operating a business in Antigua and Barbuda. But if you have no business in Antigua and Barbuda, you're not generating income from Antigua and Barbuda, then you will not be taxed. Also, if you have inheritance, you won't be taxed. Your investment income will not be taxed. Only income generated inside Antigua and Barbuda from business activity.
Thank you very much, and I hope that answers the question. Now, this again, Mr. Farooq, I think this would be a question for you. So the client is asking, can I send the money by online transfer or by check from Oman to UAE? Well, obviously, I think he can, but
yeah, Oman to UAE, absolutely no problem. Except Qatar, there's absolutely no problems in money being transferred directly to Antiguan government account or the international marketing agent's account.
Great. So now, once again, I would say this is connected, and we've heard about this, but this is a question that I think I've been hearing a lot, and somebody's asked it now. I've heard from some people that there is a problem in renewing the Antigua passport. Is there something like that?
Problem? I'm not quite sure what that is about. No, we are regularly renewing passports here on a daily basis. So I'm not quite sure, unless they have some specifics. I am not quite sure what the challenge is. Persons are able to go through their agents, and the agents will contact the unit and facilitate that the renewal of the passport.
It's about the mindset in the Middle East where the customers are not ready to accept you get exact same thing as a native Antiguan. So that's the reason you will see these questions coming up in different forms and different guesswork. So because people have some history. So
we really need to dispel all the misgivings and the miscommunication and the fact that we are citizens, all of us, no matter how you acquired citizenship, as long as you acquired it legally, then you have the same rights and privileges. So I think we just need to continually underscore that so that persons understand that even if you get your citizenship through this program, there are no restrictions that are imposed on you. If you want to move to Antigua and Barbuda to live, you're free to do so as well. Once you have that passport, you can show that passport and show that you're an Antiguan and Barbudan citizen. It's the same as if I am living in Antigua and Barbuda. That's the same rights and privileges that you have.
Not only that, you can live in other Caribbean countries also, right?
That's correct. That's correct, because you actually get a CARICOM passport, so you have the same rights and privileges that I have when I visit these other territories, and you can reside there as well. You can reside in those other islands as well.
Great, and that also answers one of the questions here. And I was just skimming through the questions. Gentleman has also asked that can I reside in the other Caribbean, the CARICOM countries? And I think you've got no restriction to work and do business in all the countries, in all the CARICOM.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. Okay, I have got another question, and I think this one will be from Mr. Imran. How confidential is my application? Well, I think I'll ask both because there is a lot of information sharing, I'm sure, when it comes to due diligence. So I think I'll perhaps
first, please.
Elaborate it, yeah.
So you're asking how confidential is your application?
Right.
Yes.
Well, it is dealt with the strictest of confidence. We provide your information to our due diligence providers to facilitate the background check. However, they have signed extremely strict agreements with us as the unit. And so your information is very safe once it is submitted to the unit.
The application at AAA is dealt with great confidentiality. We upload all your data into our ERP system, and it's completely secure. And only concerned people can access to your document. Once the documents are pushed out to the department, those applications cannot be viewed even by our staff member. And some confidential or critical or high-profile application go through a different route where they're dealing. If the client wants the viewing rights is also taken away with our staff member. So it depends on client if they want to deal with their application as a regular basis, or if it's a high-profile cases, then the viewing right is completely taken away. So none of our staff member here can see it, but the team in the Caribbean, they can obviously view the application, and they have to deal with the CIU. So it's quite confidential.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Farooq and Mr. Charmaine. Well, there's a question which is perhaps to do with statistics, but I think let's see if you perhaps give us some numbers. Since the launch of citizenship program, how many people are actually living in Antigua at the moment? This is all the new citizens.
In Antigua, I actually don't have the stats because sometimes they come in and we're not aware that they're living here, to be honest. Some people prefer to just come in confidentially and do what they need to do. I can, off the top of my head, I can think of 10 families that have moved to Antigua. I found out recently that a family from the African continent moved here, and one of their children is actually in the same class with my son. So I mean, it's it's very doable. People are finding Antigua a very attractive place to actually live. And I know that the government recently launched the digital nomads visa, where you can apply for that visa and live and work on Antigua for 24 months. So of course you would be doing what you would normally do in your country. You're just operating from Antigua. So it's not that you are working for a particular company here in Antigua. You're doing what you would normally do, but especially because you want to be doing it in safety because of the pandemic, the government has launched this, yes, this particular visa. I'm not sure that we actually have any successful applicants through that as yet because it was very recently launched. But I mean, more and more we're seeing that persons find Antigua and Barbuda really attractive. People are now looking for places that are less densely populated. We have 108 square miles and only 100,000 persons living here. So you know that we have vast landmass that we can accommodate persons that, you know, they can live in relative safety and feel comfortable doing so.
Jehan, my reply to this question is it's not a valid question because there's no way Antigua government can track because they don't distinguish between the native Antiguan and the citizenship by investment citizen. They both are exactly same. So there can't be any tracking of that data because the only way you could track is at source. So if a visitor come to the country, they can be classified as a visitor, but a citizen is a citizen. So I don't think so. It's possible to track it, number one. But if the clients are concerned, it's a beautiful place to stay. It's a very happening place. You've got a lot of billionaires and millionaires who like to live there, retire there, so on and so forth. So it's a popular destination. So it's not one of those destinations where you should be worried that, you know, am I going to be lonely guy on the island? No, it's nothing of that sort. Yeah.
I particularly love your answer, Mr. Farooq. You're right. There's no distinction between a citizen who acquired their citizenship through this program or a native-born Antiguan and Barbudan. Persons that I actually know live here is because they've made themselves known. They've advised persons, look, I would have obtained my citizenship through the program and now I'm able to reside here. So you're right. Other than them actually indicating, we wouldn't know.
Great. We move on to the next question, and this is about banking now. Client is asked to open a bank account in Antigua for the new passport holder. Do they need to stay there for a certain period? I think it's perhaps because, you know, we told them that there's a stay required for you to get on the voters list for the banking.
Well, you know, the various banks have their own requirements. But I know of a number of successful applicants to this program who have been able to establish bank accounts here in Antigua with the help of their agents. So I'm not aware that there are any particular requirements for them to actually reside here in order to be able to establish a bank account.
There can't be a requirement from a bank. The KYC is the most important thing. Once you're a citizen of the country, no bank can say, because you're not a resident, we can't open an account for you. But know your customer form and proof of a source of fund is is what is required for sure.
Great, thank you, Mr. Farooq. So there's a question that says, can I include my child who is physically challenged, but over the age of dependency, but is dependent on me? I think the child is perhaps more than 28.
No, that's fine. There's no limit on the age of disabled dependents. So once you're disabled and you're fully dependent on the applicant, there's no age limit. You can be any age and be included on the application.
Thank you. There's a question, does Antigua allow dual nationality? Well, for sure.
Yes, for sure. Sure.
Great. So let me just take it out. And I think, again, you know, this has been answered, but I think quickly let's perhaps give a recap because I can see that I've got multiple screens there. So, you know, I can see this question coming up again and again. Perhaps it's somebody who joined a little late. What is the validity of the passport, and after expiry, is the renewal normal, or do we have to go through the same process again?
Okay. So initially, once you have been approved for citizenship and you are given a passport, it's for 5 years. And I explained before that the reason for this, the legislation requires that you visit Antigua, take the oath, and if you have if you've applied under the real estate or business investment options, you would have to hold that investment for 5 years. And so the passport is issued for 5 years initially so that we're able to ensure that you would have satisfied these requirements. Thereafter, it's very easy. You make your application to renew your citizenship, renew your passport, sorry. And you get 10 years validity, and thereafter there's no requirement at all for you to come back through the unit. You go directly to the passport office to renew your passport. So the only reason you're actually going through your agent and the unit to renew your passport after the first 5 years is just to ensure that you will have satisfied the requirements of the legislation.
Thank you. How long does the process take, once we start? So the question says, how long does it take to get the passport? I would say, how long does it to get the citizenship?
Okay, well, once the application gets to us, the law requires us to provide a response within 90 days. We are seeing that persons are being approved 8 to 10 weeks. As long as there are no issues with the application and everything is submitted, every relevant piece of documentation is submitted, that persons are able to get an approval relatively quickly. Those applications that you would see that exceed the 90 days would be because we had to request additional documentation based on the findings during the background checks and something of the sort. But usually, once everything is submitted and the application is fine, within 8 to 10 weeks, you can get an approval.
Perfect. And that is certainly very fast. We've got a question, and I think Farooq would be the right person to answer. Would you assist in gathering required papers and documents on my behalf?
Most of the documentation are your personal documents, your birth certificate, marriage certificate, bank statement, and all that. But however, your local police clearance and medical, these are the documentation which we assist you fully. And so our staff member can go to the CID headquarters, help you with the police clearance report. The forms will be typed and things like that. And doctor's appointment will be set out, and the staff will again assist you. These are the two more important, very important steps where we are involved with you. But besides that, anything, if you want a birth certificate from your native town, we can't help you there. We sort you the process, most of the process in UAE.
Perfect, thank you. And I think there's another question which perhaps you should answer, and it is for you. Do you guys handle international applications, and do I have to come to UAE, or can I start my application from anywhere?
So I'll take that. It's for me.
Yeah, it's for you, sir.
Yes, we are an international marketing agent, and we're based in Dubai. Dubai is a global hub, basically. So we get lots of application throughout Middle East, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and so we are dealing with overseas application all the time. The staff is fully equipped. Systems, SOPs are completely in place. So you can deal with us in being in your home country. A lot of places like Iran and India, Iran may not be relevant in this webinar, but Iran and India, people like to deal with the foreign agents for confidentiality, and because government has more stronger control in getting the confidential data out. So a lot of those countries like to deal with an overseas agent, and Dubai happened to be the location of choice. Yeah.
Perfect. And there's another question which says, I'm based in Saudi Arabia. Can I process from here? Well, yes, you certainly can. And as I mentioned earlier, all you need to do is go to our website, get in touch with us, and we would take it from there. So we've got a question, and I think both Ms. Charmaine and Mr. Farooq can add to it. After getting citizenship, can we set up a business in a European Union or US, etc., on the basis of this passport?
I think, do you want me to answer that? Because
I think I would like to hear from both of you.
Okay, so start with you.
Well, it really depends on the requirements of the particular jurisdiction. If you're able to actually travel to these countries visa-free and reside there for 6 months. But as far as I'm aware, there are additional steps that you would need to take in order to be able to set up a business. And I think Mr. Farooq would have that information to hand.
Sure, thank you. Basically, Jehan, compared to your own original nationality, if you have a visa-free document, it is much more practical to establish yourself in a target country. Let's say I'm having a Antigua passport and I want to set up my business in France. So obviously there will be certain criteria for me to convert my visa waiver status into an entrepreneur visa. So I have to buy a business, I have to acquire a business or set up new business. So if you do not have freedom to go in and out frequently, right? In Middle East, like Schengen visa is available, freely available to a lot of people, but it is date specific. So if you say, I want to travel from 1st October to 5th October, 99% cases, people get those 5 days dates itself, right? So in first trip, you do an exploration trip and you decide to come back 10 days later, you need to go back to the embassy, do the documentation again, and go through the entire process and wait average 4 to 8 weeks time. So if you have an Antiguan passport and you could go in back and forth, it becomes a lot more practical, right? Number one. Number two, you eventually need to convert to an entrepreneur visa. So that's how it works. So as Charmaine said, there would be requirements. So there are requirements, and requirements are starting a business, creating jobs. So these are two common criteria in 90% of the countries. So that's how you establish yourself.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And well, we've got a client who's asking, well, there are two questions I'd like to club. One question is, what is the official currency of Antigua? And the second one is, how much does the currency of Antigua fluctuate against the US dollar?
I actually love that question.
Me too.
The currency that we use in Antigua and Barbuda, as well as the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, is called the Eastern Caribbean currency. The financial institutions on, well, it's actually 8 territories. So it'll be Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Kitts, Montserrat, Grenada, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, and I'm missing one. But all 8 of us, Anguilla is the last one. All 8 of us share the same currency, and it's actually pegged to the US dollar. So there are no fluctuations whatsoever. It's tied to the US dollar. $1 US is equivalent to $2.70 in Caribbean currency.
So the great news, Jehan, is your currency does not fluctuate. It's pegged to the dollar. So if you're comparing yourself with any of the country where there's hyperinflation or the currency keeps falling, whatever you invest in Antigua, it's going to stay pegged, just like the Dubai currency or most of the Middle Eastern currency. So as a businessman, you have one less headache on you because you don't need to watch your screen and fluctuation.
That's right.
Perfect. Well, there's a question. Well, it's a small question, but I know the answer is very long. But the question is, well, is it a donation or an investment? Very briefly, let's tell the gentleman the options that he has.
Can I add to it, Charmaine? A lot of clients believe that if I go through the donation route, the government is getting more money and my application will be treated favorably and faster. So that's the confusion. Does it matter to you if it's donation or the real estate route?
Actually, no, and we are encouraging persons to utilize all 4 options available. There's no guarantee that your application will be processed faster because it's the National Development Fund. Once the application gets into our doors, it's processed at the same speed as all other options. I think persons choose the National Development Fund because it's a few less steps. In that I mean, if you are choosing a real estate option, it therefore means that you have to enter into a sale and purchase agreement and some other documentation. But that's the only difference in terms of in terms of the processing. Of course, if you choose a real estate investment, you're able to earn some income on that during the 5-year period, because most persons who apply under that option and they purchase a unit, the developments normally have like a management agreement involved where they put it into the stock of units that are available for rental. And so you're able to earn some income, because from the rental proceeds, they maintain your unit, and whatever residual income is left, you can get that as an income from your investment. But just suffice to say that no matter which option you choose, your application is processed at the same pace. If there are no issues at all with your application, you're able to get a turnaround within 8 to 10 weeks. If there are issues, then it will take a little longer, but definitely we'll be back and forth with your agent to try to get all the information we need to complete the assessment of your application.
Thank you, Ms. Charmaine. I have a question, and I think this is linked to the new option that we have, the Universal Vested option. So for our clients that do not know, there's a new option in Antigua where for a family, they could invest into a fund that is basically created for the University of West Indies. And it does entitle one of the family members to get 1-year tuition-free education. So we've got a question that's in regards to that. Besides discount for one-child education, and I think that's what the gentleman means, tax benefits, what other social benefits are available to Antigua citizens?
Ooh, it's so many benefits that it's tough for me to list, because once you become a citizen, as we've been saying before, you get the same rights and benefits of all Antiguans and Barbudans. That particular option was created to be able to fund that university. I'm not sure if the participants are aware that the University of the West Indies is actually one of the top universities internationally. It's actually in the top 5% of universities, which is, a huge accomplishment for a Caribbean university. And so they had 3 campuses before the 4th campus was established in Antigua and Barbuda last year. So the other campuses are on Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and Jamaica. Those countries are, of course, a little larger than Antigua and Barbuda, but the Antigua and Barbuda has had a strong appetite for educating their people. We have a 99.1% literacy rate in Antigua and Barbuda. So it means therefore that there's a lot of emphasis on education. And so the government really lobbied around the University of the West Indies to be able to establish that 4th campus here. And so this option was created to ensure that we can continue to build on what we already have, expand and maintain. So, I really do encourage persons who are interested. The minimum number of persons in an application for that particular option is 6. And, as you had rightly said, Jehan, one member of the family would be able to get tuition free for a year.
Thank you. And it's amazing to know that, the university basically ranks among the top 5%. And I think, you have the best university, you have a serene place. I think it's a lovely destination, for somebody who wants world-class education.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say, for me, it's a no-brainer. You have no other choice but Antigua and Barbuda.
Yes, I would like to say this is my favorite option, the university option, but it's just that last time also I've said in the Prime Minister event that you need to make it broader. Why limit it to 6 people? Why not 1, 2, and 4 also? Those category needs to be introduced, because this is an excellent deal. It's like going to McDonald's and getting a combo, right? So here you get a passport also, and you get a university sponsorship. So that's amazing. So that was quite innovative, but I think it needs to expand, because when you talk about family of 6, the market really gets shrink. So so it caters to 20% of the market, according to us. Would you agree, Jehan? 2 out of 10 clients?
Yes, that's right.
8 out of 10 clients do not qualify under the university option. So if the market broadens up, obviously people will become much more receptive to this program.
Okay, I'll definitely note that for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Farooq. And I think, linked to the family size, I've got a question. It says, what is the maximum number of dependents that one is allowed? I have a large family, 9 in total, myself inclusive. Well, sir, the university option is created for you. Right, Ms. Charmaine?
Well, that is true. There are no limits on the number of dependents. As long as they qualify to be dependents, they can all be included on the application.
Right, and they have to be qualifying dependents.
Correct.
In terms of
Correct.
Yeah. Great. Okay, we've got a question now. If an applicant is rejected in some other jurisdiction, now we've got 5 countries in the Caribbean that basically offer citizenship by investment. Are they still allowed and able to apply for Antigua?
Well, I'm not sure if it's widely known, but the 5 countries actually have an agreement in place that if an applicant is denied through one program, then they're automatically denied in the other 4. And that's really because we have, seamless borders. If you are a citizen of Antigua and Barbuda, you have a freedom of movement and even freedom to live and work in the other territories. So there's this agreement between the 5 of us that if you are rejected in one country, you will be rejected in the others.
Thank you. Now this question is perhaps, I think this is about the appeal. It talks about if unfortunately the application is declined, then what is the course of action?
So with, this program is the most transparent you will find. Yes, you get a rejection, but then it doesn't end there. We have an independent panel that convenes to interview those applicants who have been rejected, and they have an opportunity to present their case. And I'm really happy to report that this has resulted in a number of reversals. There are persons who would have been rejected, and after they have the opportunity to meet with the panel and respond to the questions and provide the requisite documentation, we've actually seen that persons turn out to be approved after that process. So, I mean, if you are rejected by Antigua, it's not the end of the road. I don't think it's like that in the other territories. If you're rejected, you're rejected. But in Antigua, if you're rejected, you have 30 days within which to indicate that you want your application to be reviewed. And I'm really, really pleased about that process, because that process has really evolved. This program, this Antigua and Barbuda program, is really focused on the client. We want to do well by the client. Sometimes information comes to hand which will cause your application to be rejected, but then when you speak to the panel and you put the situation into context, it gives another opportunity for your application to be reassessed. And in a lot of cases, I wouldn't say in all, but in a lot of cases, that has resulted in persons obtaining an approval.
What is the rejection rate generally across the board?
Yeah, we have an approximate rejection rate of 5% of the applications. So 95% of the applications that come through our doors get approved.
Excellent. So we don't need to worry about rejection too much.
That's 95% right.
95% get through. Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct.
And besides, what we do here as well is, when an applicant starts the application, obviously our teams, work very hard to make sure that the file is complete in all respects and all the required documents, are there. And obviously we also start with our basic KYC, and we always ensure that once the file is submitted to the unit, it is a complete file with all the information that is required, to make sure that it has a smooth transition, from being processed to approved. That I hope answers the question. Now, and again, this question comes up quite a lot. We know that we need a birth certificate for the application process, but we've got a lot of clients where they do not have birth certificates, but they would have family books, especially in the Middle East. And are they accepted by the unit?
Yes, we accept family books. We also accept an affidavit sworn by an elder of the community.
Right.
So there are many ways that we can get around the requirement for a birth certificate.
Okay. So there's a question: can my investment in business, for example, in a hotel, be considered for my payment for citizenship? I think what he means is, besides making an investment into approved real estate or the donation.
Can you repeat that question, Jehan? I didn't quite get it.
Can my investment in business there, for example, in a hotel, be considered towards my payment for citizenship? So what I think is the gentleman is asking that besides making a donation or an investment into approved project, can any of the business qualify for citizenship?
Well, there are specific businesses that are qualified that will make you eligible to apply for citizenship. Well, of course, Mr. Farooq and his team will be able to guide as to which are the approved investment options, businesses that persons can use to apply under the program. So if you don't wish to choose the National Development Fund, you can choose investment in business. And once the business is approved by the government, you can use that to qualify for your citizenship.
Perfect. And Mr. Farooq is
so broadly, sorry, Jan, I would like to add broadly, if your approved business or real estate fund is not on the government website, you cannot choose anything on your own and do it, because there are certain objectives, and any kind of business or real estate fund has to be approved by the CIU.
Thank you, Mr. Farooq. And I think another question, once again, I would like to ask it to both of you, but I think I'd like to begin with Mr. Farooq, because this is a question that's been asked from a client who's in the UAE. With all due respect, how can I verify that the passport and the certificate, I think he means the citizenship certificate, I received is genuine? So how do you reply to that, Mr. Farooq?
Who, me?
Yes.
Take a flight. Simple as that. Take a flight. Let's take a very practical approach. Yeah?
Right.
Right. You go on holiday, celebration time. Simple as that, right? If you cross your immigration or the airline would check the passport. If it's a fake passport, it gets picked up. So my simple advice is celebrate and check the passport. Yeah. These are legitimate programs, Jehan. What clients need to understand is I get lots of questions about somebody. I don't want to name the country because that's going to become controversial, but there are a lot of fake programs, fake agents coming up with something. Easiest thing is to go to the government website, check if the law of citizenship by investment exists. If it does not exist, don't come. And that's what I tell clients, don't come and tell me story. I know the ambassador, I know this, I know that. No, if you can, the law needs to give right to the minister to give you a citizenship. If it doesn't exist, no special favors. So you may know the best guys in a consulate, you may know the best influential politician, but in a country X, if the law does not allow an ambassador, which no country in the world allows an ambassador to give rights. But generally countries like Cyprus, now they have a full-fledged citizenship by investment program. But before they ran into the banking crisis, the prime minister had a right to give you a citizenship for investment of 25 million euro. It was black and white. That's the only way you get the citizenship. So here you could go to the government website of Antigua and Barbuda, and you can check the law exists. It is all legitimate. It's all legal. Secondly, we're registered international marketing agent. We work with them day and night. And AAA is a large brand name in the Middle East, so we're huge. We process over 500 applications each year for multiple countries. So all this is legitimate. We do not deal with any program which is not legitimate, which is not legal. Simple as that. Yeah. And if you get a passport, please, time to celebrate. Take a flight next day. Yeah. Right. I would like to add here is this is my favorite pitch, and this is what I tell my the friends that, you know what, if you're rich, you could buy a Rolls Royce, you could buy a mansion, you could book a best holiday for your family, you could book first class, but you can't guarantee your family a visa, right? So here, if you invest into a citizenship by investment program, you are it simply gives you wings, and you can fly around with your family as you wish, right? So it's 6:46 p.m. in Dubai, and three of us can decide to fly to London 2 a.m. tonight. As simple as that, right? Right. So these are very strong tool. We are catering to large businessmen. These guys can afford it. They can invest $200,000 and invest into a big brand, and at the same time they get 4-5% return, which is not the major objective, and give themselves get a strong traveling tool. So as I said, rather than asking this country is there or not, you exclude Canada and US, and besides that, most of the countries you want to travel to or your family would like to go on holidays, most likely it's there. 99% chances are they all are there.
Yes, Ishan, would like to add to that perhaps?
Yes, I'd like to add to that. Mr. Farooq, you're absolutely correct. If you have doubts about the agent that you're using, just check our website. And for your purposes, I'll repeat, www.cip.gov.ag. If you're concerned that the person that you're working with may not be legitimate, then you can check our website. And so all of the persons who are authorized to act on behalf of this unit will give you authentic documents. Our passport has recently been enhanced, and that's the reason for the recall of the passports that were issued before 2017. We now have e-passports, which have stronger security. And so I agree with Mr. Farooq, if you're concerned that your document isn't legitimate, which you shouldn't have, because if you were using an authorized agent or representative, just book a trip and travel with your family.
Yeah, celebrate.
Great. So we have a couple of questions that we would like to take in Arabic, but before that, there's one question that Mr. Farooq would have to answer, and he's requested an answer in Urdu, so you might have to translate. The question is basically he's asking, if I translate it, would you recommend shifting the UAE residence visa to to Antigua passport once you're approved? Mr. Farooq, what would be your recommendation? You'll have to answer that in Urdu. I think, Mr. Farooq, we can't hear you for some reason, perhaps.
Sorry, it's about 5-6 months of training and still you mute and talk on the Zoom. Yeah. Okay. I'll answer in English also. Basically, if you have got such a strong tool, powerful passport, you should change your UAE residence visa right away to the Antigua passport. So there's no reason. I don't see any reason why you should not switch your visa to Antiguan passport. It's very simple. You need to go to a notary public and draw up and make give out information that this is what I'm doing. I'm switching from my XYZ passport to Antiguan passport, and the shareholding will switch to this passport. So your shareholding changes, your visa changes, and so on and so forth. It's pretty simple. Lots of people have done it. UAE authorities have dealt with thousands of such applications, so there's absolutely no problem. Yeah. Going back to Urdu, basically अगर आपका यूएई का वीज़ा जो है एनटी का पासपोर्ट मिल जाता है तो आप यूएई के वीज़े पे फौरन शिफ्ट हो जाए, उसमें कोई आपको डिले करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है क्योंकि आपके पास एक स्ट्रॉन्ग ट्रैवलिंग टूल आ रहा है। आपको नोटरी पब्लिक जाना होगा और एग्रीमेंट बनाना होगा कि आप अपने एग्जिस्टिंग पासपोर्ट से एंटीगन पासपोर्ट पे आप शेयर्स डाल रहे हैं और उस बेसिस पे आपका वीजा और ट्रेड लाइसेंस पे नाम वगैरह सब कुछ शिफ्ट हो जाएगा। थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir. Okay, I think one more question before we quickly move to a couple of Arabic questions. If I set up a business in Antigua, do I get special incentives on taxation, and is there any sort of relaxation on import or export, duties?
So yes, we actually have an institution, an authority that is established specifically for that. It's called the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority, and they are actually the authority that assists you with applying for the various concessions from the government and so on. So yes, I don't have all of the information to hand, but I can attest to the fact that you can get concessions and tax-free breaks and so on using the Antigua Barbuda Investment Authority.
Great. And I think you can get in touch with us, sir, and we can perhaps gather some more information for you. And great. So another question, and I think this question is actually answered, and this should be from Mr. Farooq, but it's answered because we're doing this webinar. But let me still ask it because this has been asked. How prompt is your company in getting answers from Antigua citizenship units? Mr. Farooq, how prompt are you?
As prompt as CIU is. We're quite prompt, and we have systems in place that the biggest challenge with dealing with Caribbean is the time difference. So it's what 9:52 or 10:52 right now there AM.
Oh yeah, it's 10:52 AM.
10:52 AM. So biggest issue is the time difference, and that's what that challenge we used to have about 5 odd years back. And ever since we have introduced the ERP, everything is very systematic, and we have a coordinator. We have an office in Dominica, so they follow up the balance of the application. Once the application is uploaded, the Caribbean office knows about it, and they follow up with the CIU. So that has sought out the time frame. CIU is obviously there is a fluctuation based on the load they get. 2-3 years back, I was not very happy, man, with the Antigua office. Charmaine knows about it, but now it has become a very efficient program. So so we don't have a problem at our end, but obviously we're dealing with government department. If there's a sudden spike in volume, it's not easy for them to increase the headcount, right? So versus we are a private company, right? So if tomorrow the number of application double, it's one email where we could double the number of at least approve the number of manpower, and there would be a 90 days period to train and settle down with the new manpower. But with the government department, it is a challenge, and the system moves slowly. So right now we are not going to witness any spike in the application. The influx, it will be smooth, and I think we're enjoying the post-corona relationship because efficiency is really improved.
Well, actually, if I could just add, Mr. Farooq, we've done a lot of work in the unit. We've actually increased our staff complement, and we've turned around our IT systems to be able to provide you with the efficiency that you're seeing. And I said earlier in the webinar that we are continuously looking at our processes to ensure that we can offer this level of efficiency and even greater efficiency going forward.
Excellent, perfect.
And I think I would like to add to that, sir, that for your question, well, how prompt we are. Well, you've got, the top man, the top lady sitting here answering your questions directly in the unit. So I think we should be okay.
That's right.
Great. So we've got our colleague with us, Inji, and she has some questions in Arabic. And for the benefit of our Arabic speakers, you might ask some questions in Arabic.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Farooq. Thank you, Mr. Jahan. Actually, I have a few questions in Arabic. I have to translate it in English, and then after I get the answer, I will translate it in Arabic. Okay? This question might be asked, but I have to ask it again, if you don't mind. The first one, حاملي الوثائق بيقدروا يقدموا على البرنامج أو لا؟ Can a person who doesn't have passport but they have travel documents apply for citizenship?
So that is actually a question of citizenship. So if the person has primary citizenship, then it's not a problem. They are able to apply to the program. I know that the government has been doing some work at looking at stateless persons and their ability to apply under the program. Right now, it's done on a case-by-case basis. I hope I'm not going too fast, NG. So you can translate.
So what is the chances of a stateless person who is holding a valid travel document to apply for this program?
So it really depends on the circumstance, Mr. Farooq. And in the past, what international agents have done is to kind of bring the scenario to the unit, and then we get clearance from the various authorities, and then the application is submitted.
Okay, so like Palestinian, there are tons of Palestinian with a travel document of Jordan or different kind of countries. So will you take them favorably?
Well, we're not able to at this time, unless they actually have a passport or alternate citizenship, we're not able to take Palestinians at this time.
Okay, sure.
وكانت الإجابة على حاملي الوثائق بيقدروا يقدموا أو لا هي بتختلف من معاملة لمعاملة، بس بالوقت الحالي ما بنقدرش ناخد غير للناس اللي معاهم بس باسبورات. Okay, this was the first one. The second one, بنقدر نجدد جوازات السفر المنتهية صلاحيتها أو لا. How do we renew expired passport?
Okay, very simple. You contact your agent that you would have gone through to obtain your citizenship and apply for the renewal, and it gets to our office and we process. Very simple.
بنقدر ان احنا نجدد جوازات السفر عن طريق الايجنت اللي احنا اتعاملنا معاه، عن طريق المكاتب الموثقه من قبل الحكومه. بنقدر ان احنا نجدد جوازاتنا عن طريق. Okay. The third one, can the next generation get that citizenship or no?
We are working on expanding the definition of dependence, so hopefully very soon we'll be able to positively answer that question.
I can give a non-confirmed thing that they are working on a bill to expand to next generation, but it's obviously not confirmed until the bill is approved.
All right.
للأجيال القادمة بيقدروا يقدموا على الباسبور أو لا. حاليا مش تقدر تقدم، بس ممكن later إن شاء الله بتقدر تقدم عليهم. We will come back. For the fourth question, how long will the citizenship process take?
So it takes right now, currently with applications that have no issues, it's taking 6 to 8 weeks. The legislation requires that we respond within 90 days, that's 3 months.
Okay. الإجراءات بتاخد وقت قد إيه؟ بتاخد من 6 ل 8 أسابيع. 90 يوم ماكسيموم تقدر إن أنت الإجراءات تخلص تبع البروسيس. Thanks for your time. That's all from my side. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon, inshallah, in Dubai after COVID-19. Stay safe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, NG.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, NG. A few more quick questions. I know, it's been a lot of questions, but I think these are some important questions that keep on coming. But I think, once again, I would perhaps like to hear, from both of you. And I think we need to educate our client that, he's asking what happens to my investment if my application is rejected. I would like to begin with you, Ms. Charmaine.
Okay, so you don't actually make the investment until you are approved. The funds that you put forward would be 10% of the processing fees and the full due diligence fees. And if you're rejected, well, of course, those fees are not returned, but you don't make an investment until you actually get approved. So then the investment is not affected by, a rejection.
So major fees is only paid when you get the comfort letter. So Jihan, it's relatively a very risk-free program versus any of the European Union program where you make your investment first and then you wait for the outcome. Here you pay your application fee, your due diligence fee, and if you make the major investment only if you get the comfort letter. So it's virtually limited risk. So 95% of the funds, 90% of the funds are paid on approval also. Correct. God forbid, if there is a rejection, first of all, there's a 95% approval rate. If if there's an issue with your application, you do not get back your application fee and due diligence fee. So you're out of pocket of roughly about $10,000.
That's right. And then just to remind the persons that there is a review process where there's an independent panel that reviews your application if you are rejected. Once you request that your application is reviewed, the panel will interview you and extract whatever information they need to determine the next course with your application. And in some cases, we've actually seen persons being approved after that process.
Thank you, Ms. Charmaine. And I think there's another question which now would be answered because it's connected. So, what happens to the fee in case I'm refunded? So there you are. You only pay once you're approved the major chunk. Just take another quick question. About the airport, is there an international airport in Antigua? So there are two questions actually. Is there an international airport in Canada, in Antigua, I'm sorry? And please tell us what airlines operate in Antigua.
Oh, wow. Antigua is the hub of the Caribbean. I guess based on the way we are located right in the middle of the archipelago of countries. We have a pristine, brand new international airport. And we have daily flights from the US, Canada. For me to list all of the airlines. We have major carriers like British Airways, we have Air Canada, we have JetBlue, we have American Airlines. So we have major carriers, and there are a number of direct flights to and from the UK, to and from Canada, to and from the US.
You forgot British Airways, Virgin, and all those European carriers. Yeah.
There's so many.
So many. So the most practical route for the customers will be through the Gatwick Airport in London. France is also a very good connection. I personally like to go New York, fly extra few hours, and then come down. So that's also not a bad route. So if you want to do one long haul, so that is so fairly easily connected. Connection is not a big issue. But if you're flying out of London, you don't book through Heathrow. You book through Gatwick.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Farooq. And I was going to ask you about that. How people from UAE should, kind of fly down. So you've got multiple options there. There's a question about once again about the source of funds, Mr. Charmaine. You're required to obviously show funds when it comes to citizenship application. Now, client is asking, can I show properties, on behalf of liquid cash? We might have clients where, they're required to show the funds in the account, but, they might liquidate their properties for the citizenship, but they don't want to do it until they're approved. So they only do it, they sell the properties only after they're approved. So can they, in the beginning, perhaps show that, they have got properties?
Well, having properties really doesn't tell us that you're able to make the investment once you're approved. But as you asked the question, I was thinking that if it is that you can show that you have an agreement to sell the property, and then that would be the proceeds of your application, that would be sufficient for us. Because a lot of times we see that persons send their bank statements and there aren't sufficient funds to make the investment, and then we will issue an approved pending letter to say, okay, everything else checks out, but we just need to be certain that you have the funds to make the investment before you get the final approval. So I think to circumvent that, if persons can show that they have agreements to sell the particular property once they are approved, that would suffice.
Perfect. Thank you. I hope that answers the question. Now, about the pre-check that I mentioned earlier, Mr. Farooq, and I think this is for you. I mentioned that we obviously do our own KYCs before we take an application. Now, client is asking, is this pre-assessment free of cost?
Absolutely free. So pre-assessment is the first thing we do, and that's literally the first thing which is done when we set up your appointment. If the clients are comfortable sharing their ID document, but half the clients feel comfortable sharing the documents once they go through the initial meeting and things like that. So initial assessment, world check is absolutely free.
Thank you. We're getting again a lot of questions which are case specific, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to again ask you that any case specific questions about the price, these can be asked to us direct. Our offices are open. You can visit us in the office, or you could send us an email, give us a call. We would certainly be happy to help, and we can then give you the advice. Is there any sort of, Ms. Charmaine, with the current crisis, now the clients may not be able to gather all the documents, for example, police reports, is there some sort of rebate, or maybe the clients can submit the documents later? Do you have something in place?
We actually issued a communication sometime in late March or early April to advise our authorized representatives and agents as to what documents are absolutely pivotal to begin the due diligence process. So things like police records and so on, they can come in just before the application is approved, and we can start processing without those critical documents. So once we have proper ID, once we have the completed forms and so on, we can start the due diligence process, and then those other documents can come in thereafter.
Thank you. Once again, this is a question, Mr. Farooq, and obviously this would depend on the definition of the family member. The question is, do you also process the addition of a family member, well, the ones that obviously that are eligible at the moment?
Yes, we process additional family members also.
And another question which I'd like to again ask you. Once again, I would say this is a specific question and this is a specific case, but since it's been asked, so what kind of payment options do you offer to the client? This is perhaps related to the professional fee, I would say.
I think that you want to answer yourself, right? Because you are heading the unit, and it's more of a more day-to-day call for you. So you could reply yourself.
I would say there are multiple options available. Obviously, the first step obviously is to have a meeting with us, and we discuss the case and we see how the application would be processed. And every application is different, and the way it's dealt with is different. So there are multiple options available. I would like you to come and visit us, and we have a one-on-one session, and then we see what suits you. I'm pretty sure we'll have an option that would suit you and that you would like. So there are a lot of questions that I'm trying to scroll down to see that we don't want to repeat the questions that have already been answered. Now, we would, ladies and gentlemen, there are many questions that you're asking, but they've also been basically answered already. So we will be sharing the link of this webinar with you, so then you could go through this again. I think this has already been answered, but I think this perhaps we need to educate our clients as much as we can about the 5-day visit, which is being waived off right now. So clients asking again, do we still have to do that? And I think this is something that everybody has to understand, that it's waived off for those people who were due this time. So if somebody gets citizenship in 2020, he is not due until 2025, right, Mr.
That's correct. So the persons who are at the cusp, who are already there and are at the cusp of the 5-year renewal, they would not need to visit for the 5 days upon 31st of August. So we've suspended that requirement until the 31st of August 2021, so that this does not prevent you from renewing your passport if you have already reached the 5-year mark.
Thank you. And again, post these 5 days, when the client does these 5 days, then he's free to be in Antigua or any country of his choice. He doesn't really have to do it again and again.
That's correct. It's just one time.
It's one time, and being 5 days, and I think Mr. Farooq can vouch for that. It's a lovely place, and everybody would want to spend more than 5 days.
I was about to say that the charm of the country alone will cause you to come back again and again, and in some cases make further investments and come here for your summer vacation, or even we've seen persons relocate to Antigua and Barbuda.
Yes, that's correct. It's a beautiful country, amazing infrastructure. So obviously you would love to go again and again. And so whether for business trip or leisure, it suits. It's very, very, very comforting place actually. 365 beaches, right? So if you spend a year, you explore new beach every day.
You know it.
Yeah.
Great. Ms. Charmaine, thank you very much for your time. There are many more questions. I think if we continue, this would perhaps go all day long. But thank you. We appreciate your time, and thank you for answering our questions. Ms. Farooq, thank you to you as well. I mean, you've certainly been very active within this period, trying to educate our clients as much as we can, and we look forward to another webinar pretty soon.
Thank you, Jehan. Thank you, Charmaine. Thank you for taking out time. I'm really thankful because we did a live webinar 2 weeks back, and again you're back on screen with us again, giving us time. Thank you very much. Our clients really appreciate it, and you could see that the list of participants and the interest so far. We're close to 1 hour 45 minutes, so there's a great interest.
Yes,
we'll chat with you soon. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for our participants, thank you for participating today. We have tried to answer as many questions as we could. There are certainly there are some which we could not answer. We will get back to you with all the answers. We have got your email addresses, and we hope to see you soon as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.